B-roll.
Fans, they love the
What's up,
music.
guys? This is the
Usually
beginning of
you
the
need to be
B-roll.
5 of us just started talking at the same time.
Yeah, right when we start recording.
Yeah.
That's why it's the B-roll. We could just mute this and then just like dub over it with important
right.
stuff
All
like the
right.
website.
Cut all this. Hey, everybody.
Cut.
How we doing?
Doing good, man. How about you?
Oh, having a great week so far.
Well, it's Monday. So.
Yeah.
I'm so depressed. I can't believe I'm back here, not in vacation land.
Last week was a lot better. I'll be honest.
Last week was awesome compared to this week.
Yeah. I have off Friday.
What? So you're back? You're back from Canada, eh?
Yeah,
Right.
I got back Saturday. Got to listen to the Canadians with guitars. So
Nice.
very fitting that we're doing this episode now.
Why? Because Rush is American?
Because Rush is the premier group of Canadians with guitars and maybe a drum set.
And maybe a synthesizer.
The drummer isn't that impressive, so no one really thinks about the drums.
Yeah, the synther is kind of a fucking joke.
Yeah, good album. Hey,
Yeah.
Shall I share?
yes.
Yeah, go ahead and share.
Are we gonna do an intro? Like,
Yeah.
That,
welcome, viewers.
I was going to wait until the 45th minute to even mention the name of the album that we're talking about.
you guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. No, nothing with the website. It's actually the wrong screen.
Yeah, who's
Still
a
just
cool
chugging along.
Cool looking website is that?
No, nothing there.
Inky's pitch to the website is like, yeah, I came across this awesome website. Never heard of it before.
Damn.
Yeah.
I did update some of the YouTube stuff recently, and we are on episode 15. Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Who would have thought we'd make it this far?
I know.
Dude.
Dedication.
15 hours of us talking on these video calls. It's been fun though. It's been fun.
And let's not forget the 3 hour long.
Oh yeah.
Let us not forget.
Epic.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Epic.
The double.
Yeah. A little prog rock for this week. Always fun. I never really I put Rush in like their own category versus like other prog rock bands. But this is a very prog rock album.
Prog rock. Progger.
There it is.
Really know her. All right.
Yeah. Me and Dan were talking about prog rock definition and the container. I think me and Rob were talking about it too on the drive back. But like, it's definitely progressive rock, but there's just like straight up progressive music out there. I mean, I'm bad at categorizing genres, but
I don't know what that means.
What means?
What is progressive music? What is progressive rock? What does that even mean?
Click the genre. Like
Yeah.
where's progressive. Let's pull up the definition.
Should I read it?
Yeah.
You should have read the blurb, but
All right, let's see.
a broad genre of music primarily developed in the United States. Yeah. Oh no, UK, the United Kingdom, and the United States, which is kind of Canada.
Maybe this line right here. Lyrics were more poetic. Technology was harnessing new sounds.
Oh yeah.
It's a pretty bad echo.
Yeah.
Someone can mute when you're not talking. But
I think it's gone now.
music approached the condition of art and the studio rather than the stage. It became the focus of musical activity. For
Amazing.
listening rather than dancing. I like that a lot.
So stoner music.
I was dancing the whole
Art
week.
rock.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Art rock. I like that. And they got the moving pictures on the album. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
If it's a
yeah, can we
progressive
touch
rock
on that?
album, 9 times out of 10, there's a song that's over 10 or 12 minutes long. You know,
Which we
Yeah.
have.
the camera and I.
Yeah.
Case in
Would
point.
you say like experimentalism is a trait of progressive music?
I would say so.
I mean, it's. I don't know. I mean, I just learned what the hell it meant, but based on the definition, I mean, if you mix poetry and synthesizers, it sounds like it's
Take a shot at
prog
it.
rock. So I don't think it has to be that experimental.
I mean, I feel like if you listen,
Maybe for its time, if this stuff, yeah.
yeah, I think needs to be in the context of other things that were happening in the '80s. You think of like Yes or like Pink Floyd or like Blue Oyster Cult or something. Like those are some contemporaries that I think they're all pretty experimental.
Genesis,
Never
We'll
heard
get to
of
it, Dan.
Crimson,
King Crimson. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
one of the grandfathers of progressive rock.
for real.
The Moody
That was-
Blues.
Moody Blues. Yeah.
Do you like some?
What is that album? 21st Century Schizoid Man, the King Crimson album. That would be.
In the Court of the Crimson King. I have that one on vinyl.
I do too. I've listened once, and it's intense. Like
Yeah.
you got to be in a
It's very epic.
very
It's like
epic.
Progressive rock holds that kind of like epic
Yeah.
saga.
Yeah,
I felt that a lot with this album.
yeah. So, what do we think? Background, a little background on the album. Anyone have any thoughts? Or Seamus, I feel like you're the in-house
The
Rush.
resident.
The
Expert.
resident Rush expert.
Yeah, what do you think?
Seamus, I did skim through it a bit if you want to pass, but if you want to speak to it a bit, I skimmed through the Wikipedia a bit.
So I
If you
mean,
want
as a broad overview, I don't know if I have any specific like facts about this album, but I would just say the context of this album, the Rush's discography is this is probably their most accessible album, which I think a lot of people would hear that and hear this album and be like, wow, that must be a really weird band. This is the most accessible. If Vital Signs is the most accessible Rush, then they've got to do some pretty weird shit. But it is. I mean, it's like their experimentalism and their introduction of the synth. This album was, I think, probably the most heavy synth involved album that they've had up to this point when they released it, which coincided with obviously the 80s falling in love with it, which is probably one of the things that helped them. But also like the A-sides are a lot, tidier, which I think is something that we're going to get into. Tidier, I just mean it's still only 4 songs, but there's no 10-minute song. There's not as much kind of weird spacey stuff in it. So you've got radio hits coming out, or at least the potential for radio hits and stuff like Limelight and Tom Sawyer, which are easily the two most popular, most played from this album. So, and I think Rush were definitely going through, maybe right before this album, that kind of existential crisis of like this stuff just isn't landing. We're having such a hard time recording it because we're such, perfectionists. Like, is this the end of us? Because obviously, unfortunately, bands like any other person, come to the realization at some point that you need money to live, and it just wasn't cutting it for them. So I think they had that kind of moment, like a lot of bands do, where it's like, is it like, are we just done? Like, are we just never going to make something that people are going to really love? Something to that extent, and then along came this album.
Seamus, would you say this is your favorite Rush album?
Yeah, I'd have to say so. I think it's probably the highest proportion of like tighter radio songs to more experimental, progressive, kind of Rush niche songs. I think a lot of the other albums have that stuff kind of scattered throughout. So I don't know. I mean, I think I put it this way: there are other Rush albums where there's a song or two where it's over my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't quite feel that way about any song on this one. There's better songs than others, I would say. But I would say it's my favorite.
Yeah, and I with respect to like the commercial success, this was a pretty successful album, and it's kind of crazy. Like, I didn't know that this was their eighth studio album.
Yep.
That's
I didn't know that either.
That they had 7 albums before this, and this has like their 2 most popular songs ever on the album. And they had 8 albums before that, which that's just kind of crazy. This did it for them. They look, instrumental YYZ was nominated for a Grammy for best instant rock and instrumental performance, like that, and then how they charted in Canada and the US, like pretty awesome for them. I think you said it best, Seamus. Like, they kind of needed to do this, and this put them on the map, commercially. So yeah, it's got a lot of good stuff on it. I'm a fan.
Heck yeah, man.
Nigel, you weren't necessarily a fan. Is that what you were saying earlier?
We'll just have to wait, my friend. We'll just.
Well, you're up. Let's hear it.
No, I don't want
Wait,
to.
no. Before we go, Jack, you mentioned moving pictures earlier. Quick factoid. If I zoom in here,
Oh, enhance.
curious if you guys know this.
Enhance.
Kind of speaks to the nerdiest, cultiest fan bases out there. But it's a triple entendre, which I just learned recently. So moving pictures,
What that word?
physically, huh?
You just learned that
No,
word?
no. Well, yeah, I guess the title in itself.
Oh,
But
okay.
you have the people physically moving the pictures. You have the people on the side crying because they're emotionally moving. And then apparently, I don't really see it, but there's a film crew apparently in the back recording it as like a motion moving picture.
That is so Rush.
I know. Yeah, exactly. I thought the exact same thing
Wow.
when I read that. Nerds, cults.
Yeah. That's too progressive for me.
What a fan base.
I like simpler, stupider stuff.
Like what?
Are you mocking me?
What do you like? What Nigel? What would you rather listen to? Seals and Crofts?
Yeah, Seals Croft, baby.
Here we go.
And here it's up again.
All right. Let's throw on Euphrates, baby.
Never got that far.
You just
Any other nuggets of wisdom, Inky?
No, I think you covered it well. I just wanted to throw that in because it is, and Seamus, I think you've told me this before. I've said it multiple times now already, but one of the nerdiest, cultiest fan bases, when you listen to the lyrics, they're just kind of odd and whack and little like World of Warcrafty.
Totally World of Warcraft.
We mentioned like this is like their 8th album or something. I think this is only their 2nd studio album. I think they had a bunch of like live albums.
No, they definitely had. A couple
I don't know if
studio
that's
albums
true.
before this. Like, I think 2112, Fly By Night. I think the
8th
Necromancer.
studio album.
Farewell to Kings.
I was completely wrong. Never mind.
Circumstances.
Permanent Waves.
I don't know
Permanent
what I
Waves
was
could have
thinking.
been after this one because Permanent Waves kind of sounds pretty.
Permanent Waves was before. It was Signals that was after.
Is that the one?
Signals is a good
on
album.
it?
Yeah, that's where they go
Permanent
real
Waves was before.
80s. Real 80s.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the discography now. But no, so they had some a good bit of other studio albums before this. It looks like 5 or 6.
Limelight 420. Amazing.
And I guess to the lyrics point too, and I've seen like the Rush documentary. I think it's Beyond the Lighted Stage. I've seen it a couple times, and I remember so Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee, they were like best friends growing up, and I think eventually they probably grew tired of the old drummer or something like that, and they met Neil Peart. So he was kind of the third. He was third wheeling them a little bit. Is kind of how they described it, like because he's already a weird guy, and then he's trying to jump into that double dutch that is their own weirdness. You know what I mean? But like Neil wrote the lyrics, and it kind of transformed Geddy's vocal performances just in the sense, like it made it a lot harder for him because he was like, dude, how the fuck am I supposed to sing these lyrics?
Yeah.
He's singing Lord of the Rings. You know? So that's something that like when you when you guys tune into the lyrics, it's really nerdy. And some people like love them just for that element. So there's definitely a heavy cult following behind them too. I feel like it's one of the biggest cult followings in like popular music.
Gotta be, yeah.
My uncle's seen them like
below the dead
times, I think.
Wow. Yeah, I bet seeing them live would be pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Just because they're all such like talented musicians, you know.
Yeah.
Especially Neil Peart's solos, like that's gonna be crazy to watch.
So
back when
cool.
he was, kicking.
Yeah, back in the day.
Rest in peace, man.
Yeah, Seamus,
For sure.
what are your thoughts on this album as a whole? And, like to walk us through. Well, I mean, you mentioned side one was a little more digestible, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on like, those songs specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I like the first four a lot. I think YYZ is not one that I listen to often. I think that's often the case with instrumental music. I feel like without a singer, it's hard to be super like melodic and catchy. Cliffs of Dover by Eric Johnson being like an example against that, just because he's such a fantastic guitar player. But YYZ is a song where Neil shines so much. But again, all three of them are really good musicians. I think Limelight's probably my favorite, at least of the first four. Tom Sawyer is actually, I think Red Barchetta is definitely my second favorite on the first side, and I think that's a really cool song, and it's not really a radio song, even though it could have been. I think that's just one that's living in the shadows of those other two bigger ones. Like you said, I actually looked it up when you said the two most popular ones. I went on Spotify, and Tom Sawyer and Limelight are 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And Tom Sawyer is just it's a classic song. I mean, it's like iconic, pretty well memed, I would say, for Rush. I think
I think we're thinking the same thing.
South Park.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Family Guy when Chester, the Cheetos guy, is like a total piece of shit, and he's like railing a line of Cheeto dust, and this is in the background, and he just starts breaking shit.
Yeah. I thought you were thinking of the South Park where I actually don't even know if it was in an episode. They may have used it as a clip at a Rush show. Like they may have made it specifically for the Rush show. So I'll have to. I can't do it justice. I'll just have to send you a clip of that. And then there's also I Love You, Man.
Yeah,
Slapping the bass.
Yeah. It's such guy music, man. We listened to this album, Mallory and I, and she's like, and it was over. It's like, I'm sick of Rush. I'm like, you listen to one song. Come on.
Listen to one 12-minute song. Come on.
Man. Red Barchetta is awesome. Such a cool song. I had never heard it before until I listened to this album through for this. And like a Red Barchetta is like a little Italian sports car. And the story behind it is like so nerdy of just like a dystopian future where cars aren't allowed. Like this, like cars on the ground, there's like flying cars, whatever. And this guy like finds one in his uncle's shop in his farm and like breaks the law every week to go and drive it around and fix it up. And there's like a big police chase and stuff. And he gets away and gets back to the farm. Like,
yeah, it's a wild song. The lyrics are all over the place.
It's so
prog rock, baby.
It's so prog rock. And like, in terms of like what other people were doing at this time of just like different types of jump. It's like different types of poetry or like just different types of music and lyrics. Like they're just doing their own thing, like so left field and just so different. And that's, a reason for their cult following. And also probably why, like, not a lot of people love. At first I thought it was just like listening to I love a song about a machine, man. How great is getting the dust off an old machine in a barn. Like this is so funny and so Rush. And I was super excited for that one. And then YYZ is just like crazy. So cool. What a fun song. Obviously I've heard Limelight and Tom Sawyer a million times. They're always fun songs. Yeah, solid first side.
Yeah.
I mean,
the lyrics to Red Barchetta are like the love child of like a Kurt Vonnegut and Neil Stephenson book. Just some super sci-fi, Fahrenheit 451 type of, dystopian.
Good stuff. Second side, what are people's thoughts there? Or, I don't want to, leave the first side yet necessarily if other people got some good stuff to say. Nigel, I'm curious since you hate it.
Just the first side, or what?
Whatever.
I mean, I'll just go through. So I mean, I think starting off on this album, like I love synths, and Tom Sawyer starts out heavy with the synths, so it scored points immediately. Obviously, I've already heard the song Tom Sawyer a million times, and Limelight, and YYZ. But Red Barchetta, is it Barchetta, right? Koala Koala, Red Koala. Yeah, so Red Barchetta, Witch Hunt, Vital Signs, the Camera Eye. I don't think I really knew those songs going into the album. But starting off the top with Tom Sawyer's is one hell of a way to open up an album because it's so strong. The drums are crazy, the synth is crazy. The lyrics are also like what's his name? Geddy Lee is like, I feel like his vocals are very much an acquired taste, because they're kind of like, I don't know if nasally is the right word, but they're kind of squeaky. Like I don't know exactly how to describe it, but
screechy almost.
Yeah.
Shrill.
Shrill is a good way to put it. And probably in, I don't know, middle school, high school, when I first heard some of these songs, like I don't think I really liked it at first, or I didn't like his voice. I liked the music, but his voice was a turn off, like a major turn off for the songs. But then over time, it's like, I don't know, it kind of attaches itself to you. And now I really enjoy his vocals. And I don't hate this album. I was just talking mad shit in the chat before the thing. It's a great album.
Just salty.
Yeah. Red Barchetta, I thought was one of the best songs of the album. And I had not heard it before. And I think it is kind of like overshadowed because Tom Sawyer and Limelight are singles and also like the big songs, and they're a little more lyrically straightforward and a little easier to digest. YYZ is crazy, just all over the place. And I think one of the really cool things about Neil Peart is like we talked about it during Mount Rushmore, but he's not like just a drummer. He's like a full-on percussionist because he touches all kinds of things that have to do with rhythm. So he's not just playing the drum kit. It's a full incorporation of anything that touches the realm of percussion, right? And if you look down, it lists the drums, the gong, orchestra bells, glockenspiel, wind chimes, like all this stuff. And that's just on this one album, right?
Plywood. We're playing the plywood.
Yeah, hell yeah. I think my favorite songs in this album are Witch Hunt and Vital Signs. I love the way the album closes out. They're kind of like darker songs, which I like darker music in general. I think Red Barchetta is probably a third, that or YYZ. And you can kind of hear this fat bass in like the whole album. And I saw that Geddy Lee was using a jazz bass for the first time on this album, and a jazz bass has like an active equalizer in it, so you can change the frequencies essentially that you're emphasizing on the bass while you play it. It's kind of like a built-in pedal essentially, but you can't really get that sound with a standard P bass, which is what a lot of people used at that time. So he just like cranked the low end on this thing, and you can probably scoop the mids too, and you can hear just how fat the bass is, and it just fits so well with all these other crazy percussion elements and synthesizer elements and arpeggiators. And I think the album's fucking great. I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
My God. I knew you were bluffing.
Yeah, I was totally bluffing. Yeah. I mean, it had synths. Like, I don't know like how you fell for that one. Oh, and the synth they use in this, or at least a lot of it, I think it's called the Oberheim OBX. And it's a polysynth, right? So you can play multiple notes at the same time. And it's kind of like it's for its time like super expensive and not necessarily revolutionary, but like top tier things, kind of like if you've heard of like a Prophet 6 or a Juno, like these synths that were very involved in the 80s sound.
That's all you, man.
Yeah, just creating these crazy pad sounds that gave texture and like atmosphere to 80s songs for the entire decade. But just a cool little note.
Nice. Dan and Inky, what are your thoughts?
No thoughts. All right, let's move on. Let's rate this baby.
Yeah, I can go. We spoke to the cult a bit earlier. I'm definitely not in there. I observe from a safe distance. That being said, my MVP definitely goes to the Camera Eye. I think that song is definitely the best representation of everything I appreciate about Rush fans. The long epic, multiple parts, the nerdy lyrics we talked about. This one has a lot of reference to classical literature from what I was reading. Again, just nerdy shit. Definitely not my thing, but the big Rush fans I've seen, they're just so deep in that world. Not that I know a ton of them, but I appreciate the dedication.
I can't emphasize enough how much I'm not one of them.
I have no association with these loser nerds. All right,
Ladies, trust
I
me,
just watch them.
Yeah,
but my other takes are like fairly simple, and I feel like what most people have. My favorite song is probably just Limelight. First 30 seconds, I think addicting riff. Seamus, I think you were spot on with what you were saying earlier. It's on the radio all the time, and people, a lot of energy. People are like, "Sweet, let's go." I mean, it's a great song, but it definitely is one of their more accessible. Why it's probably such an easy listen for me. And that was kind of the majority of everything that I had going through the album. Nigel, it's interesting that you point to Witch Hunt and Vital Signs. I'm curious, are you side 2 over side 1 then? I didn't think anyone else.
See, side 1's super strong, and I don't love the Camera Eye. I think it's good, but it's probably my least favorite song on the album as far as like something I would listen to on a regular basis. I think Witch Hunt and Vital Signs are something I would listen to probably more regularly than most of the stuff on side 1. Maybe Red Burchetta I would toss in there, but the other ones are kind of like situational songs. Like I can't listen to Tom Sawyer over and over again because it's it's Tom Sawyer, you know what I mean? And the same goes for like a super epic instrumental with no vocals at all, like YYZ. I think Limelight's a little more mainstream, repeatable, palatable. But it's kind of in the same vein as Tom Sawyer's. You kind of need to be in the mood for it. Where I feel like Witch Hunt and Vital Signs are, for me, a little more just generally up my alley. So I don't necessarily say I would say pick side 2 as the better side, but I think those are my 2 favorite songs.
I wanted to hear the alternate take because I think it is pretty side 1 dominant.
Yeah. I'm surprised that between the two of you, all 3 B-sides were nominated as favorite songs. I like the Camera Eye a lot, and the other 2 are good too. I don't give them as much time as the 4 or 5 other songs on this album. I like the Camera Eye a lot, though.
To clarify, it was just MVP. I think favorite song is Limelight for me.
Fair. Yeah, it's a banger. It's a Friday song if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I like Vital Signs a lot. That's something I'd never heard before, and I'll go back and listen to.
And the UFOs, man.
Great bass line.
Yeah.
Bass playing by Getty.
Yeah.
I love the synth in both of those songs too.
I'm sure you do.
I do.
Cool Spotify graphic too on Vital Signs that you pointed out. I didn't even notice that.
It's funny with the UFO and shit, man. Witch Hunt's got a crazy one too, and so does Camera Eye.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
Any
Ben.
additional comments?
Yeah, I'm going back to you. Any MVPs, or curious what your favorite song would be, or what you would pick out of the album?
Yeah. So I guess, at least because I'm like, this is also my most known Rush album. I'm by like no means like a true Rush fan. Like I haven't gone back and listened to like Fly By Night or 2112. Like as much as I'm like a fan of prog rock, like I grew up around prog rock. My dad's a huge fan. He's got like every Jethro Tull rock record on vinyl, you know. Like grew up around that stuff. Like I'm a big fan of Genesis, you know. But this one, like the Rush has managed to stay progressive rock throughout their entire discography, just because of like how like musically intense Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson are creating all of these songs, and how we've constantly pointed out nerdy Neil Peart's lyrics are. But going back to this album, like Red Barchetta is definitely like the best song.
Nice.
Like especially like not really paying attention to the lyrics, it's still an amazing song, and paying attention to the lyrics just kind of makes it a better song.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those where it kind of doesn't make you like tilt your head, like what the heck is he talking about? You kind of just get into it. It's a cool story, as Jack had pointed out, you know, really keeps you into it. And Limelight is just an amazing song to always come back to. Always goes really hard. It's one of like Alex Lifeson's best guitar solos in the album. I'd say the second half definitely kind of loses me. As much as I really like all the songs, Camera Eye is a sick 11-minute song. Really like Witch Hunt, really like Vital Signs. Just coming back to it after having not listened to it for a while, the first side really just takes me more than the second side right now. I'm sure if I listened to it 15 or 20 more times, I would come out of it saying, yeah, Vital Signs is my favorite song, you know. But I really get down with how much the first 4 songs really just hit.
Yeah. No, there's no weakness on the first side. So
yeah. And honestly, no real weakness on the second side. It's just kind of a different, it's a change of pace.
Yeah, it
you
is
get,
really different.
You get Rush's Future on the first side. Like Signals, the album after this, Nigel, you should check out, is so much more synth heavy. Like the song Subdivisions, especially, like you would love that song. But they're clearly their hardcore, nerdy, progressive roots stay strong with like the Camera Eye, you know. Even bands like Genesis coming into the 80s, like a long-standing progressive rock band, like they still had weird-ass 11-minute songs in their like Invisible Touch and different albums, you know. I always like that when a band sees something new and attaches onto it and makes something great of it, but doesn't forget their roots entirely, you know. Just makes for a really great Rush album. I think this definitely stands the test of time as their like most beloved one. True Rush fans might disagree and be like, but 2112, actually. But no, I think this one for sure.
This is a pretty great album.
Yeah, I think it was definitely their most successful too. I'm not saying that because I'm looking at the numbers right now, but if I remember that correctly, which it would, and again, it would 100% make sense, and it would line up with what I was saying earlier, just about it being like so commercially successful for them at a time that they were kind of going through a breaking point. It's also interesting, that checks out, and it's also interesting that, as you said, Dan, like sticking true to who they are as a theme in later albums that they produced. That was a huge conversation for them. I think at one point they got a new either manager or producer or something like that. I think it was a new producer, and he tried to, you know, I distinctly remember Alex Lifeson saying that like they were telling him to lower his reverb, and he was throwing a hissy fit about it. And Geddy Lee wanted to just like I think he just wanted to be a synth player, like a keyboardist. Like I like he wanted to be so heavy in the synth, and I think the other guys kind of felt like it was forced or it wasn't them. So they had a lot of like very what's the word I'm looking for? Not distinct, but explicit, not explicit, but like intentional conversations about like who they want it to be. I feel like some bands are maybe a little bit more passive in the way they write and just kind of write the music and it defines who they are. I feel like Rush, they were just so interested in music and they were such perfectionists and such music nerds that they were like kind of trying to determine who they were and how they wanted to sound before they wrote. You know what I mean?
Deliberate.
Do they
Yes.
do they have solo stuff? Do any of them have solo stuff you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of. And I think the band was largely together all the time. I think some of the guys maybe wrote some stuff on their own, obviously, but I don't think they ever. If they did, it wouldn't have been until like the late '90s, probably. And there were times in which they were feeling like, hey, like we need a break from touring. Like these guys like opened for Kiss on a tour, I think. And it's so funny, and this was all in the documentary that I've seen, because all the Kiss members were like, "Yeah, these guys are crushing on stage," and we were like, "Yo, like, come back to the room with us. Like, we got like chicks coming over. We're gonna be doing all kinds of drugs and stuff like that." And these guys were like, "Nah, we're probably just gonna hang out in our rooms and like get high and read." You know? So, understandably so. I think there are times where
we got a great game of Catan going.
I mean, they had a solid like 30, 40-year run, which is pretty intense.
Yeah, that's the other reason too. Because if you look at their discography, they've got albums throughout, you know, early '70s, '80s, '90s, and they probably put something out in the early 2000s too.
I mean, they were touring in the 2000s, so
Yeah.
Went up to 2012.
yeah.
Yeah, and they had some awesome tours at that time too. So, and then of course, like with Neil dying, I feel like from what I've seen like an interview post his death with the two of them, and I don't even know if they have any interest in playing live again. That's how tight knit they were. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Rest in peace, man.
Yeah, I think I had one more thing to say, and then I'm ready to wrap and go to the next section. But Nigel had said something about like kind of got to be in the mood for like Tom Sawyer. Like it's not something you can listen to over and over again. And I feel like that kind of is this thing with the entire album, and I think it's a setting that is required to listen to this. And I think the setting is Seamus's dad's basement with trips to the beer fridge in the garage between every song. I think that's exactly how this album is intended to be listened.
That does do it justice.
I think that could get one letter higher if we had all listened to it in that state. However, that's my note. I think you know, in the right setting, this would be a really fun listen.
Yeah,
True.
definitely a boys' night type of setting.
This is my making love album.
This is your
Tom
playlist.
Sawyer's will get me going.
Yeah.
Just need to hear that bell on YYZ, man.
Makes the girl swoon.
I think I saw that the bell is in the rhythm of Morse code of the letters YYC. I'm serious.
Oh man.
Yeah, isn't it?
That checks out.
Yeah.
Every girl I've told that fact is just instantly falling for me.
Yeah. I've got a problem, guys. I've got a problem.
Usually my
leave me
lead
alone.
pickup line.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyways, shall we rank this?
Is that where we're at? All right. Thank you. Or Jack, pull it up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Somebody.
It's up.
Oh boy. Look at that. Look at that. What is that bottom album? What is it doing there?
Wait, it's at the bottom. You guys put it at the bottom.
I think you guys made a mistake. You might want to put that up at the top.
Yankee, I think you meant bottom of A.
Yeah. Bottom of reverse alphabetical order. Huh?
B and C, they sound pretty similar. Yeah, I guess you meant bottom of B.
Let's
Yeah,
be real.
S and C make the same sound, which is
It was a
success.
millimeter away from being at the Nigel.
Well,
All right, where are we putting
What
this
do you
baby?
I think
What do you think?
No one's gonna say it first, though.
No, me and Dan talked a little about this. I think he was trying to get in my head about not giving it an S from the start, which I mean I could concede to. I mean I'm gonna say at least an A. I mean that's for me. I mean I love Rush, and this episode has kind of made me remember like just how much stuff and how many deep tracks I know that nobody else has probably fucking listened to of our age group. You know what I mean?
Not of our age group, yeah.
I would say at least A for me.
All right. Well,
I
I'll
agree
come
with
around
you.
to it. I think it's an S. I think it's an S.
Wow.
I think musically it's better than anything in A, and I think it's a masterpiece. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's easily comparable to 1984.
You know, I listen to a lot of prog rock. I listen to a lot of Yes, a lot of Pink Floyd. And this it's not up there for me with some of those albums from Yes and some of the Pink Floyd. I think it's great, but the second side did lose me a little bit when I compare it to its contemporaries. I think it's still phenomenal, and I think it's an amazing album. I would probably put it at the bottom of A.
Oof.
Personally, I was going to say bottom of A, top of B, but I think that's not giving it justice. So I'd probably say bottom of A. I love it, but you know that's just where I stand.
Thank you,
Dan.
Dan.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough call because I think it definitely belongs in A, but where in A? And I don't know, stacking it up against those albums there, I think it's at least better than Men at Work, if not like in the best case at the top of A for me.
I would concede above Men at Work.
That
Thank
might
you.
be where it ends up going. Yeah, my gut reaction was it's got to be somewhere in A. I wouldn't die on the hill and try to not put it in S. You know, I think if we found our second S album, that I wouldn't have been surprised.
Yeah, I would
Love Men at Work.
like to upgrade this to an S. I don't know. I guess I just didn't want to
Be the only guy.
bias or something. Yeah, no, and I mean like to justify it. There's two ways. I mean, in the relative scale, looking at everything else in A, I mean this for me like subjectively and in the relative scale, I like this way more than anything in A. Although I really do like the Men at Work album. I can't believe that that's the one of the A's that I feel the most attached
It's
to.
a great album, right?
It is a great album, dude.
That is funny.
And it was not on my radar really that much until we listened to it. But yeah, and I think just like you said, Nigel, like musically, it's the same thing I've said multiple times on this show. Like 3 brilliant musicians who all showcase their stuff on this album, and also it is also just comparable to 1984, the synth theme and how like Getty
Really
who already
short.
plays, and Getty who already plays the bass and is the lead singer is also the one playing the synth. So you know it's I need to say this too, like this is like the definition for me of a power trio. I may have used that term with Green Day, but if you look at this album, like the depth to the sound that's produced by just 3 musicians is pretty incredible, you know.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Seamus? That's strong words, and I appreciate that. I think you bring a lot of validity to it. What do you think of? I think we should revisit Mad Villainy. I don't know if it really deserves the top of A. I love that album, but
I think we should have just a separate ranking for
it's
for
just
rap music.
it's awesome,
It
but
doesn't
it
make sense.
doesn't make sense in the context of the rest of our albums. It seems. I feel like moving that maybe to behind Men at Work. I listened to Men at Work yesterday on vinyl, and it rocked. Forgot I hadn't listened to it since the show, and it's so good. I feel like this could go in any order of Rubber Soul, Men at Work, and this at the top 3 of A, and then maybe pushing Mad Villain behind that. And I'm fine with wherever in those 3, whether it be first, second, or third of A.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not opposed to that at all.
we can talk about moving Mad Villain now or off camera. It doesn't really matter to me. I think that
Like a
I don't know.
seismic
I think
gap in
this
there.
album's an S, dude. Like, I mean, I'm extremely biased because I'm a synth head and a drummer, and those are like the two things. And I, also play the bass, which is another huge aspect of this. Like, there's not much more I could ask for other than the fact that I guess they're total nerds, but that's
Nerds rock.
fine.
That's a good
Yeah. They're rocking. It's just like, it's I think the biggest from like maybe a more objective standpoint is like the lyrics and vocals are definitely not going to appeal to everybody. But like technically, like this album is just on another level compared to pretty much anything in A. I would say the most comparable thing would be Radiohead's album, and 1984, like on a technical and musical level.
Yeah, but that's not the only thing we're ranking.
No, it's not. It's definitely not. But it also sounds amazing. Like it's super grandiose, epic music, and it covers a large breadth of like intensity. Like it varies a lot. There's a lot of good dynamics, I think, and I'm not gonna be heartbroken if it doesn't make S, but this is definitely an S to me.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. I definitely would say it's an S. I don't know why I didn't say that off the bat. I mean, I honestly think part of the reason why is just because it is kind of weird and nerdy and niche in terms of the lyrics, but as it's been established, that's really not what I'm prioritizing anyways. Musically it's super impressive. I like it a lot from a sound perspective and how much I like it too. So to step away from the technical side, I like it a lot. And you've got, to Nigel's point about dynamics, you've got like Limelight, which is fantastic. Like that's on like my Friday playlist. You know what I mean? Like that's just such a feel good song. YYZ is intense, and it's a really cool instrumental, and it showcases all three musicians really well. Camera Eye is like the trippier, longer, epic, like we said. So definitely got a strong case for us. We're somewhere between, behind 1984 and high A.
I think you guys talked me into low S.
Yeah,
I'm still top of A.
The musicianship
I would say
point.
top of A.
that's 3 S's and 2 A's.
That is 3 against 2.
Wow,
I think that averages out to
We've
low
got
S.
S number 2, baby.
I don't think the prog rock Pink Floyd comparison was that. Actually is what flipped me, because then Seamus and Nigel both spoke to the musicianship, and that's if you compare that to Pink Floyd, I'm not too sure about Yes, but none of the Pink Floyd members are nearly as talented, and I don't think that's a hot take as any of these guys. Maybe David Gilmour stacks up with
It's a little hot.
Leafson.
It's a little warm.
It's a little hot. I feel like these guys are musicians, and in comparison, Pink Floyd are more of a
Artsy.
it's like a concept album. They're telling a story. It's a lot more.
I didn't even know
Plus,
they're the
like,
same genre of music. Like I don't think of.
I mean, prog rock is, as it says in the Wikipedia article, it's a broad genre.
I just learned today, guys. Can you hold it against me?
I'm probably not gonna listen to this much again all the way through, and to put it in S, it's hard to say yes. I don't want to. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
It is what it is. If you guys want to go S, you do have 3 votes.
I mean, what if we put it at the very bottom of S, like right above Red Hot Chili Peppers, right there?
That's what I was thinking.
Well, we've got to clean this up a little bit, but so you're saying just like wherever that lands.
Yeah. I mean, we could put considerable space between it and 1984. I don't remember what you, Jack and Dan ranked 1984, but like, what would you say the difference is between an S and an A in a case of like a Van Halen 1984 versus Moving Pictures?
Re-listenability and succinct. I don't know. Just it's so subjective. It's your music taste.
I think re-listenability is a decent factor, and maybe broad appeal would be part of it, which is why I think 1984 is an easy S. Like it's
we all
yeah. But hey, let's clean that up a little bit, and
that just means you want us to put Seals Croft higher.
yeah, let's put that up at the top.
Fill in those gaps.
Yeah, we'll put Chicago in the other gap.
Oh, never mind. Sorry, I can make that second place.
No, I mean I can squeeze this together. It was more so of like this is really just on its own.
Yeah,
so.
it makes sense.
But yeah, we can fix that.
Let's just add more hip hop to the list.
Yeah, guess we have to.
We could.
No thanks.
Okay.
Been listening to a lot of Donuts.
Donuts.
Oh, yeah.
Damn, that's a good show.
Maybe
Yeah,
so good.
It'd be all Nigel.
I mean, I had such a great time listening to this album this week. I kind of want to stay on the rock train for a little bit.
For sure.
I think we should, yeah. We took between the rap and all the 90s, we kind of deviated away from classic rock for a little bit. I mean, we could throw it on the little queue down there. And those are anything set in stone.
Yeah, is there anything you guys specifically want to listen to? Because
For next week?
yeah, I think
we're gonna keep kicking Jefferson's airplane down the road.
I mean, we are. 'Cause I don't want to listen to it right now. Like, come on.
I don't either.
Yeah, he just had his feelings fucking ripped out of his heart last week about the Seals Croft album. So he kind of needs a break from nominating anything.
No, I wanted to nominate something by Joy Division. I think that would be fun to listen to.
Wow. I started listening to Joy Division recently.
I'm a fan. They have some good stuff,
And
and
they're pretty interesting.
Well, if we want to go back to the classic rock, they're more like new wave, aren't they?
I know it kind of doesn't.
I mean, yeah, I'm down to throw it on the queue and have something on record. But
Ian Curtis, that was the guy's name, who died.
Yeah, I'm
Jack,
fine
you
to
wanna
queue it, but is there a more classic rock focused one that I mean I can think of a few,
Boston.
but oh man. Dude, that was literally what I was thinking.
that's going to be a contentious week. I'm not a Boston fan.
Dude, let's do it.
We just did an S though.
I mean,
We did. That could make for a good contentious.
what did they say?
Boston by Boston.
Debut.
Okay.
Jack, I know you picked the Red Hot Chili Peppers one recently, but I think that's the only other one that you've brought to the table. Would it make sense to follow this up with the Pink Floyd, or is that something you'd want to do?
I'm down for Pink Floyd. That'd be fun. I think we're all Pink Floyd fans, aren't we?
Yeah, been a
What
while
album?
since I dove in.
can we do Wish You Were Here?
I'm down
Wish
for
You
Wish You
Were
Were
Here.
Here. I was
Wish
thinking
You Were
that
Here.
That
too.
would make sense.
That would be fun.
Dude, that's such a good album. It's an S, by the way. I'm already saying.
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
Alright.
an easy yes.
That's an easy.
That's right.
I'm down for an easy S.
Welcome to the
fair.
machine. Have a cigar, shine a new crazy diamond. I mean, it's in, right?
It's in.
Well, I'll tell you what. I haven't listened to anything cover to cover by Pink Floyd since I was in like 7th or 8th grade. That's
Wow.
probably a lie. That's probably a lie. But my
Not
point
lie.
is like I dove into them pretty heavy in middle school, because I was just wise beyond my years. But like they're not a band I've spent a lot of time listening to in the past couple of years. So curious to see what I feel when I dive back into them.
I am too.
I mean, it's a pretty short EP essentially.
Yeah.
So it'll be quick and easy.
Oh man. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but I mean, I feel like I shat on them a bit at the end, but it might dethrone 1984 for me, just off the bat.
That's for sure. Pinky, I've got doubles of this album. I have an unopened.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Those are safe, man. I got one party album and one just in case, and I'll post this along with it. Such a good.
I'll bring the boxing gloves next week because I don't know what's dethroning 1984, but it's not a lot that I would let slide into that place. So,
Hold on.
yeah. But no, I mean, also too, like if we did multiple S albums in a row, like why not? I mean, we're here to talk about good music. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of crazy that we've only done 2 S's. Because every week when you talk about like an album that you want to listen to, well, I'm thinking like, what are the vinyls I've listened to the most? Boston, The Cars, Asia. You know what I mean?
Asia.
Yes.
Another one.
Like
Steely Dan's gonna come up soon enough, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the fact that we haven't done Steely Dan's absurd.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't even like Steely Dan. Probably voted as a D.
Yeah,
I put it
gotta
down
kinda
there with
like 'em.
Seals and Croft. Not even a fan.
Ooh.
You know what would be a good album also to put on there is Rides Again by James Gang. I don't know if you guys have ever listened to that album.
Never heard of it.
Don't know that one.
Really good. It's
Sorry, it's
got
getting a D vote.
It's not a D.
I'm not giving it a chance.
You guys definitely know Funk 49.
Funk 49.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
Ashton Park is a really good song too. It's a good album. I like.
I don't even recognize the cover there.
It's a good album. So something to think about that you guys might not you aren't familiar with. It's a good one. If we wanted to, throw it on the queue. But I'm down for next week.
So what? Wish you were here next week?
Yeah, I wish all of you guys were here.
That'll be good.
You're my friends.
Yeah, Inky, throw all those on the queue though, because there's again, I can nominate an S every week, I feel like, and I'd have a great time because I would want to listen to it all week. But Pink Floyd's probably overdue.
Yeah, maybe another Zeppelin.
Down.
Well, let's not go crazy. All right.
All right, cool. We'll look forward to it. I'm excited to listen.
All right. Congrats, boys. Another S.
All right.
I'm a happy guy right now. I gotta say.
I mean, it's a good fucking album.
Seamus, you won that one.
It's a great one.
It's a good one.
Awesome. Cool, guys. All right. Well, talk to you later this week.
See ya.
Peace out.